Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Soul Space. So I know I don't do an intro every video, but today just felt like one of those videos that needed an introduction. So today is exciting in the sense that you guys are pretty much caught up with the Backyard Sanctuary series. So everything that I've done for the backyard in real life, I say real life like this isn't real life, but you know what I mean. Everything that I've actually done, I've pretty much showed you. There's a couple of things that are gonna be in this video that are just kind of small little details. I didn't quite know where to fit them in with the rest of the story. But because you guys are now going to be caught up with everything in real time, I felt like today's video would be good to just give you guys a garden tour or a backyard tour. I say garden a lot just because this isn't a garden in the sense that it's like a vegetable garden or a flower garden. I say garden in the sense that I'm envisioning that one day my backyard will kind of feel like the secret garden. And so please just know that when I say garden, that's what I mean. I know that I don't have like a really extravagant flower garden or vegetable garden or anything like that. Just thought I would throw that clarification in there. So yeah, basically today's video, I want to show you guys around the garden and show you what it looks like in winter, talk about a few things that I plan on doing this upcoming spring in 2026. Maybe I'll also throw in a few images of where I've started, versus where I am now. And I also want to talk a little bit about the different seasons in the garden and how they can feel so vastly different. So that kind of sets me up here for the drastic difference between the grass in spring versus now versus summer. So in spring, the grass is so lush and it's so green and it's so soft and it's everything that I ever want in grass. And then as the heat starts to pick up and typically we have some sort of drought or just a period of time where we don't really get a ton of rain and the grass starts to die. I have a fescue grass and it just doesn't really survive the heat that well. So that is a bit disheartening and kind of depressing. And it feels like it makes my environment even hotter than it already is. Just visually seeing the proof that the plants are dying. I don't know, it's not ideal. So still working on that. I think I just also need to have a better schedule with watering because I made my sort of like DIY irrigation system, which is very helpful and it's extremely useful when I get my yard aerated and seeded, but I don't feel like I necessarily water it in between when I get my yard aerated every fall. So I need to be better at that. And I think that my yard would probably fare a lot better if I did that. The other thing with the grass is, I know I've mentioned it in a couple other videos, but I have this nutsedge grass. I think that's how you pronounce it. I'm not 100% sure, but this nutsedge that grows in the very back along the fence line, kind of where I've planted those roses. And I have tried everything to get rid of it. I've tried smothering it with cardboard, layering like a very, very thick layer of mulch on top of it, and it just grows right through. So I really try to avoid using any sort of chemical unless there's just not really any other option. And I got to that point, I think it was like August or September of 2025. I got to that point. And so I sprayed a bit. I mainly focused on the areas by the roses. I had accidentally transplanted some of the nut sedge over to the Distilleum linebacker hedges that I planted on the side of the fence line as well, because whenever I dig up anything, I save the dirt because I know that I'll need it again at some point somewhere. So I have these buckets that plants come in, and I'll just leave the dirt in there. But I accidentally brought some of the nut sedge over to the Distilleum linebacker hedge line. So I sprayed a bit around there. There was some kind of just in the grass, which I think had spread from the rose area. So I hit that as well. So I am very curious to see what comes back in the spring. I don't think I killed it all first round. That's probably not possible, but I think I got a significant portion of it. So we'll see how that looks in the spring, and I'll keep you updated. So moving on to projects that I want to tackle this spring. First and foremost, my biggest goal is to get mulch completely around the perimeter of the backyard. So I've got one side near the Distilleum linebackers and the star jasmine mulched all the way. I do think I need to widen that, but at least I have that whole side of the fence line mulched. I have all of the back mulched as well, the back fence line, but I laid a very thin layer the first go round, and so I really need to thicken that area up. And then I have maybe about a third of the other side of the fence line mulched, really just where my camellias are. So I need to connect from the camellias all the way to the back fence line. And then I've also mentioned this before, but I want to mulch all the way around the shed just to make it easier when I mow, as well as just make that space feel more, I don't know. I just feel like it would flow better to have the mulch connect in a kind of organic way along the back fence line and then around the shed. So that's my plan for the mulch, and I'm gonna try and start that earlier so that I'm not doing it in the height of summer when it's absolutely miserable. And I'm going to take everyone's advice and use that like pitchfork looking thing. I don't know the name of it. Yeah, a few people recommended that, and I also saw my neighbor using one of those, so it looks a whole lot easier, and hopefully that makes things go a little bit quicker. One other thing I wanted to share about the shed was, this was just kind of a little something that I did because I had ordered tile samples for a project at work that we didn't end up using, and they're outdoor rated tiles, so I figured I'd bring them home and make kind of like a little stepping path over to the concrete bench over by the shed. So I just brought them over to the area at this point, but I wasn't gonna permanently put anything down because there's grass there and I need to mow over it. But once I get the mulch down, the stepping stones will be in the mulch, and I think it'll be really nice. And it's a free, easy thing to do. So that's another little small project I've got. And then the last thing, I think this will be the last thing. I don't know. I also want to plant or finish planting my privacy hedges. So I want to bring the Distilleum linebacker all the way to the back corner of the fence. And then I want to add maybe 3 or so more camellias on the other side of the fence, just to bring that hedge line kind of to where my shed begins, just to really make that space feel like more private eventually. And then probably the only other project that I'm gonna have time to do is, so my star jasmine wall, I've had some issues with the lattice that I bought. So it's a vinyl lattice, and I think just the difference in temperature really messes with vinyl lattice, especially if it's not sandwiched between something. Like I've noticed other people's lattice panels, they'll have it sandwiched between 2 pieces of wood. And so right now I just have everything kind of drilled in on one side of the wood, but like where the posts, I have the lattice attached to the posts that are in the ground, as well as horizontal pieces of wood, but I just think it needs reinforcement. So I think I'm gonna get one more piece of wood that will go horizontally in the middle, kind of behind the lattice, so that I don't really see it. And I don't think my neighbors will really see it once the star jasmine grows enough to really just completely cover the lattice. And then I'm going to kind of frame the front side of the lattice just to really sandwich in that lattice between the horizontal pieces of wood and this frame that I'm gonna add, because I feel like that'll just give it a bit more stability, and hopefully this whole thing doesn't collapse under the weight of the star jasmine as it grows more and more, but we'll see. That'd be really, really depressing, because I mean, it's gonna be years, I don't know, and this lattice isn't proving to be very strong. I don't know. Or should I buy wood lattice and then replace it? I don't know. Probably not. That seems like too much work. Not really. I don't have the tools to cut things is my issue. And I'm scared of saws. And so, I don't know. Maybe I'll get brave and I'll order a saw. Stay tuned and you'll find out. Oh, I forgot. I had one more thing that I wanted to do this spring. My herb garden that I added a bunch of rocks around to keep the weeds at bay has helped, but the weeds are still coming through, and so I need to weed that area. And then also I want to add a lot more small rock to really, really block any sort of light and just really lay it on thick in that area. And then put the bigger, more decorative rocks on top of that so that you aren't just seeing a bunch of little pebbles. So I've got to do that as well. I really just, a lot of these projects are just kind of done halfway because I couldn't really afford to buy the amount of material that I needed. And so I just bought as much as I could afford at the time and then did the best with what I had. You know, eventually knowing that I was going to need to add on and buy more and continue, but it at least gives me somewhere to start, and it at least gives me a bit of visual satisfaction. Even if it's not perfect, it's like I can start to see the vision come to life. So yeah, I think that will keep me plenty busy this spring. It'll probably bleed into the summer just because I feel like that's a lot of stuff to do and I have a full-time job, so that really limits the amount of time that I can do all of these projects. So yeah, really just trying to keep in mind that this garden it's a journey, not a destination, as they say. And speaking of journeys, I do want to share a moment of reflection with you guys on the year 2025. 2025 was eventful. It showed me endings, transitions, and that liminal space. But it was also a year of adventure, putting myself out there, and growth. I'm so grateful for the friendships that I have in my life and having the ability to take a trip on a long weekend to reconnect with the people that have been in my life for a long time, yet I don't see often enough. There were quiet celebrations filled with sweet memories, being a part of little adventures that may not seem like much to some people, but have brought in some much needed moments of peace. I've experienced beauty and strength and support when I needed it most. And I've done a lot of inner work this year, taken time and space out to heal and to feel. And I can't leave out YouTube in this reflection. It has become a space that has allowed me connection as well as creative expression. I feel like I've learned so much by being a small part of it, through watching others and through creating my own content. So, whether you're new here or have been around a while, I just wanted to say thanks for being a part of my journey, and I hope to see you around in 2026.